Welcome to a very exciting edition of Noise Reel. On Saturday the 6th of December 2014, Cine City premiered Front in Brighton. This film features Brighton artists, a Brighton cast and a Brighton director, writer and producer. His name is Kevin Wright and he's here with me today. We're going to be talking to Kevin about the film, we're going to be talking to the cast and the crew, and we've got loads packed in the show for you. It's going to tell you all about Front and we can't wait to hear more about it. So what is Front about, Kevin?
So Front is a punk rap opera and it follows a character called Mental Mickey, who's a alcoholic, busking punk who lives in a beach hut on Brighton seafront, and a girl called Jade, who's a pole dancing hip hop MC. She passes him on the way to work every day, but we soon start discovering that there's actually more to their relationship than meets the eye. It's a tale of parallel lives. We flash back to the 70s and we see young Mickey at work in his factory, slaving away by day, and then by night he's performing in the vault with his band Mickey and the Mentalists. Meanwhile, cut to present day, and Jade's on the end of her production line, a blonde Barbie doll, so it's her kind of factory.
I'm working in a factory. I'm working in a factory. Gets job to me.
And why is the Brighton music scene so important to you?
It's so important because, I've born and bred in Brighton, big fan of Quadrophenia and the whole Who rock opera, and I wanted to take it one step further. When I first started coming up with the idea, it was more of a modern day musical, but then I discovered punkbrighton.co.uk. Shout out to Phil Byford, Punk Daddy. I did a documentary that I'm going to run alongside this, and we went to an all-dayer that we shot at the Prince Albert, and I had all the old punk guys, some of which are here today. A lot of them hadn't seen each other for 25 years and they were all performing. I got the chance to interview them all and amalgamate their stories, and I was sitting on a goldmine of these stories, really. It all started in '76 in a place called The Vault. It was underneath the Presbyterian Church on North Road. It was firebombed by the National Front in 1980, so it was very short-lived, but it was in an old burial crypt that was a rehearsal space for these guys and then became a gig space. And I just knew that I wanted to sort of, even though it's a fictional movie, ground it in reality and base it on actual facts and events from the 70s.
Sure, that sounds brilliant. And what you are doing with Front is smashing up some genres there. So it's a punk rap opera, isn't it? So is that a big risk for you to do that as being your first film?
Well, it started off as an album. It's a short film, 30 minutes, and it's based on a concept album. Hopefully we'll get around to shooting the feature film later on in the year. But the 18 tracks provide the structure of the movie. They start off very genre specific when we meet the characters, but when we actually develop relationships throughout, we can hear elements of those genres come together, which is kind of a new spin on the rock opera.
Okay, now we at Noise Reel love the soundtrack to Front. We've been listening to it a lot. Is that going to be released? Have you got any plans for that ahead of the film coming out?
Because we only use half of the tracks, half of the albums in the short film, so I'd be reluctant to actually get the whole album out now, but the ones that we've used, first half of it surely will go on the website, showsomefront.com.
Cool, and what are your hopes and dreams for Front at the moment? Because as it stands, it's incomplete. As you say, you've made a 30-minute movie of it, so would you like to see that on stage? What are your plans for completing
I think it would translate to the stage, absolutely. As I say, it's a complete body of work, the 30 minutes, and then I had to cut it down to a 15-minute movie in order to get it into a lot of festivals. You mentioned Cine City, it was in December. We did the London Short Film Festival in January, which was great, and also we premiered it in California in December last year. They did a couple of festivals out there which were really well received. So.
Amazing, that's good, and it's good to hear that there's a good response that you've received, that's almost globally now, isn't it? Because on the 6th of December it was buzzing, and it felt like being there that everybody was there for you.
It was like a football crowd in an arty cinema. It was brilliant. There were like popcorn everywhere and lots of chanting, and lots of friends had cameos in the film, so as soon as they all cropped up, obviously everyone was up in arms. It
was a fantastic experience, and we've got some of the cast and crew here today with us.
Absolutely.
And they're going to be performing some songs for us. Would you mind introducing the first song that they're going to be singing?
Yeah, the first song is a track called Factory, originally written by the Depressions, Dave Barnard here and Eric, and Bav on drums. So here we go, it's a different spin on the song, so Holly Holster doing her thing. Here we go.
Working in a factory, working in a factory, working in a factory, given this job to me. The foreman says you got prospects here, son, you could be a fine engineer. A week's paid holiday every year, spend your money on birds and beer. They're giving this job to me, giving this job to me.
I'm not a tart, not part of what this factory makes. It's Baker, keep it real, come and feel me break. I'm not a tart, not part of what this factory makes. It's Baker, keep it real, come and feel me break. So vapid, but that's a no-brainer. Playing fast and loose with the name entertainer. Identity kit women can't spit, only swallow. Sex bot monotonous automatons, a lot of us. Rinse, repeat persist, I am not a number, I'm a free thinking free, rapping beat, loving category other.
Working in a factory, working in a factory, working in a factory. Every day's just the same. Every day's just the same.
In this production line of bendy Barbie lookalikes, I can't pass inspection mark, rejected, felt prototype. Cause I'm the vocal hype-inducing grimy student Jade. Didn't break the mold, they threw it out when I was made. Dogs smell a traitor in the pack. They bitch and bark, jump from the conveyor belt one day and rip this place apart.
Working in a factory, working in a factory, working in a factory.
Cause every day is just the same. Every day is just the same. Every day is just the same. Every day is just the same.
One of them invited me to his villa in Dubai.
Which one?
The hairy one.
Oh, they all look the same to me.
No, the feeling.
What was that, Jade?
Are you saving up to buy your kids something nice?
For the band shop. Girls, Lady Suffering thinks she's a rapper.
Chad, look at it. Wait, is that even your kid?
This fire I'm feeling.
I'm here with Holly Lang, who plays Jade in Front. Holly, how are you doing?
Right, thank you.
Good, thank you so much for joining us today. What really strikes me when I'm watching Front is that you give a really authentic stand-up performance. Have you done any acting before?
I've done small parts, but I seem to get typecast as the angry girl. But no, I'm definitely not a trained actor.
How did you become involved with Front, Holly?
Well, I started off doing the soundtrack with Kev. He actually found me on MySpace, so that's a long time ago, through some tracks that I'd recorded. And I did some work on the soundtrack, and then Kev said to me, would you like to play Jade?
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be a good opportunity.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. And why is, so just thinking about Jade, why is music so important to Jade and what's her relationship to music? Because that really comes across in the film, but...
Well, I think she's had a very difficult life and has felt very abandoned by her family and always felt quite alone. And music seems to be her escape. And it's definitely the thing that makes her feel powerful in an otherwise powerless life.
So moving forward with Front, your role is actually going to change within the film, isn't it?
Yes, there's a character who is the love interest of Mickey, whose name is Mad. She's the drummer in the band in the 70s, the punk band. And I'm going to play her in the feature.
All right, brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us, Holly, and thanks so much for your performances.
Thanks.
I guess I was naturally born bad, like Mallory scorn bad. I'm actually still mad, like Amityville dads, and anarchy feels rad. Calamity's my bag, I clutch it manically entangled in the straps. I'm low on energy, but high on bars. Hiya, pa, hide my scars, laugh, then I ask, was it always dark? I wanna make a mint achieve more than treble. High up on a seesaw, scared to make a free fall. Always a lover with the subtlest strand of psychosis, groping in the crowd for my hand. Always a man to abandon me, backhanding me, cut me off from fans and friends and close family. I'm always Mallory, damaged and poor. Infamy, they've got it in for me, they'll drown me, I'm sure. Whore, witch, drown her in the sea. On a wave of mutilation, I'll wash up like on Brighton Beach. Then you'll see that I was no more than a messed up girl. Born good, turned bad by this messed up world. Born good, turned bad by this messed up world. Born good, turned bad by this messed up world. And then you'll see that I was no more than a messed up girl. Born good, turned bad by this messed up world. Born good, turned bad by this messed up world. Born good, turned bad by this messed up world.
I'm joined now by Dave Barnard, who's also part of the front cast and crew. Dave, what's your role in the film?
Well, I suppose I'm sort of consultant for some of the music that was around in those days and the sort of drugs we used, or didn't use. And you know, that sort of stuff really.
Okay, and you were living in Brighton during those punk rock days, so how have you helped to keep the content of the film true to what you know? How have you helped Kevin?
It's funny, it's just little things really. Kevin, if we were dealing with a part in the film which was that period, Kevin would sort of show me a script and we'd just talk about maybe that's not quite right and that's not, you know, just about the clothes, the other music that was around, who was Prime Minister, for instance, you know, that sort of thing, you know, so historical consultant as well, I suppose.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. And what can you tell me about the Vault, which features quite heavily in the film?
Oh, the Vault, well, it was a place that it first started having gigs there.
Yeah.
Underneath a sort of an old church, and it was actually a burial crypt.
Wow.
So down there was lead-lined coffins and things dating back from I don't know when, centuries. Wow. And but all the young punks in Brighton, as we were then, I suppose, or I wasn't that young. It was a pretty place to rehearse.
Yeah. Whereabouts was the Vault?
Just up North Street.
Okay.
North Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, top of North Road, near Queen's Road. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with all of that in mind, so how it kind of you've helped Kevin reflect on the history of that time and stuff. What does front mean to you? So kind of having that era in a film now, what does that mean to you?
Well, it's important because I mean I'm from Brighton and I still see a lot of people from those days, so it's important to me to have, you know, those sort of things pretty as correct as you can be, you know, in a film, because otherwise, you know, someone's going to be waffling in my ear. It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
You know,
Now, you performed for us today. Can you tell us a bit more about your involvement with the music side of front, please?
Well, a lot of the music, I say a lot of it, but some of the music that's being used in the film was actually written by myself and my partner at the time, my musical partner at the time, Mr. Eric Wright. We had a band in that period who had a medium amount of success, you know. So there was 2 or 3 tracks that we've used and rewritten and re-recorded for the film.
Yeah.
And also I think I've got a vocal on a couple of other up-to-date tracks because they wanted someone who sounded like an old man. So I got the job.
And you've got a small cameo as well, haven't you, in the short feature?
Very small. It's sort of an Alfred Hitchcock type cameo. It's like, you know, blink and you'll miss me, but that's okay with me.
But I spotted you.
Yeah. Did you?
Brilliant, yeah. Right, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us, Dave.
Thanks,
you.
Ellie. Cheers.
Consider the life of a poor young kid living on dreams. A girl or a boy, just an innocent toy, so it seems. We were born in the rain, from the 60s we came. Given by the hand of the government plan, it's a shame. Can't you see we get mean? I'm living on dreams. Don't we live on the street where there is no retreat from our fate? Clothed in rags, passing by on the folks to whom we just can't relate. Though we move on up to a third class status, travel the road but they still underrate us obscene. Can't you see we get lean from living on dreams? Can't you see we get lean from living on dreams? Can't you see we get mean from living on dreams? Can't you see we get mean from living on dreams?
So Bav, how did you become involved in front?
I was introduced to Kevin, the director and writer of the film, through a mutual friend actually. We had a brief chat and over a beer, and he mentioned he was writing a film, and I said that I wrote music and composed a few things, and he had a quick listen to some of my stuff, and because it was a varying genre of material that I did, he asked if I wouldn't mind sort of having a look at the script and seeing if I could get involved with doing the score for the film.
Okay, fantastic. So tell me a bit about that writing process. Sort of how much has Kevin been involved? What's coming first? Is it you coming to him with the song, with the idea, with the music, or is it Kevin coming to you, whistling a tune, saying this is how I want it to be? Like, how does that work?
It was basically reading through the script. Kev had quite a lot of vocals and lyrics written out for it.
Yeah.
So I took a look at it.
Yeah.
Spoke to Dave Barnard quite a bit about the sort of tone that we were going to set with it. There's a lot of inspiration was taken from the punk scene, and to kind of develop that into the modern day and contemporary wise, I spoke to Dave Barnard of the Depressions a lot to make sure that there was just enough music from the past remixed into the contemporary tracks, like i.e. the hip hop tracks. The Soundtrack Factory by the Depressions did a remix of that called Category Other. And we took a lot of ambient sounds from inside the strip club, and I was sitting there with hairsprays and canisters with a microphone, gassing myself out in the studio just to try and get some sound effects to develop the tracking shots for certain scenes which you'll see in the movie. And it worked really well. For me, it was a very different writing process to go from two-dimensional, just writing a track for enjoyment and for other artists, to having visuals from these guys, going and visiting the sets, coming down to Brighton a lot, and getting a lot of atmospherics and being a geek, standing outdoors with a microphone and taking a few pictures and getting as much information as possible, and then taking it back, writing some music, sending it to Dave, sending it to Kev, seeing if it was fitting for the scenes. There was a lot of back and forth, and I think we all supported each other quite a lot in this process. For me especially, it was new to do something for a production, a big sort of film. And it worked out quite well. And it has worked out really well, and it's brilliant, and it's lovely to listen to. You've done some fantastic music for the film. Thank you so much for joining us, Bav. Cheers, thank you.
Just like me, make your way like the sea. Who knew we could be friends? Who knows where it will lead?
Parallel lines to the same conclusion. No excuses, no exclusions. Made up names just cause confusion. Nonsense concepts, constant music. All you see is my Nike trainers. We're so alike that we might be strangers. Out our clothes, out our labels. No restraints, no learned behaviours. We're all the same. These divides are a shame, but who can blame us? It's society that gives us these names. We need to break them, need to shake them up. Start this again, all through the lanes. Breaking chains, make our way, making waves.
You're just like me. like the sea.